Welcome, everybody. Thrilled to get started with 7 Stages to Sustainability Bootcamp, Stage 6, which is where we have packaged everything and now we're going to take it to market. We're going to talk about fundraising, impact investment, and first, how to really share yourself in the best way and have a bit of an overview in marketing and how to sell yourself as a thought leader with Jared Brick. Before we get into our program and where I'll introduce everyone, I'm going to start with our 4 soul questions. So everyone, I want to invite you to begin this meditation, and wherever you are, please sit comfortably and close your eyes. Find the earth. Put your feet on the ground or underneath you, whatever gives you gravity. Just take a few long, deep breaths, allowing your body to settle into wherever you are sitting. Let go of everything that doesn't concern you right now. Just take a few breaths here. Allow your breathing to be normal, not controlling it in any way. Be aware of the breath, not focusing or concentrating, just simply observing the breath as it is naturally, flowing in and flowing out. Bring your awareness to your heart. Be aware of the breath here. We'll silently ask ourselves the 4 soul questions. First, who am I? Shift into being. Just be. Who am I? Second question, what do I want? What do I want is an experience, but you don't force an experience. You say, what do I want? And then allow the experience to come to you right now in the form of a sensation, image, feeling, or thought. Just be open to it. What do I want? The answers can be material, physical, emotional, spiritual. What do I want? What do I really, really want? Third question. What is my purpose? This is also an experience, so allowing any sensation, image, feeling, or thought to come. What is my purpose? How can I help? How can I serve? What do I want to create? What is my purpose? Last question. What am I grateful for? Allowing any sensation, image, feeling, or thought to come to you. What am I grateful for? What am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for in my life? And when you are ready, gently open your eyes and we will begin. All right. And welcome, Zach. Great to have you. And here we are again. And we are jumping into stage 6 of the 7 stages to sustainability today, which is a very powerful, pivotal stage after we have gone through these 7, it's our 7th week and our 7th core session. And last week, we had an incredible discussion about putting the pieces together, exploring open source technology, appropriate technology, and how do you really create something. And now we take it to market and we talk about how do we get the resources we need through selling what we have, market testing. Stage 6 can be many, many things. And gearing this session towards the impact leaders in our community, we have a really phenomenal lineup of a really holistic marketing guru that's developing a lot of digital products, online courses, and helping thought leaders to bring their gifts to the world. So we'll start with Jared Brick, and then we have a seasoned, world-class fundraising and organizational management professional, Deanna Doberteen, who is also an advisor of Empowerment Works and a co-founder from many, many years ago here in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And she's going to be sharing how to really move that storytelling and leadership on fundraising with your organization. And we have Marc Thibault, who is an incredible, deeply regenerative, values-based leader, working with for-profits, social enterprises, product development, and has a lot of experience in nonprofit fundraising, but is going to be also really helping those of you who have social enterprises focus on and learn the 101s of impact investment for your for-profit and hybrid initiatives. So without further ado, I am going to hand over the baton to Jared to take us through your presentation and what gifts you have to share. And yeah, thank you so much. Welcome.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Melanie, for that introduction. I did prepare some slides. I'm going to jump over to the slides if that works, and I encourage everyone to use the chat, ask questions, and if we don't get to the questions during the presentation, then I will look at it and download the chat later. And there's also, you can click participants, and then you can have little comments and feedback on there also. And we will make the slides available, so don't feel like you have to rush through them or take notes. We will make the slide deck available to you. So let me know if you guys can see this. Can you guys see the slides? Great. All right. So my name is Jared Brick. Today we're going to be going through go-to-market impact and action for thought leaders. And how do we kind of have a bigger message, have a bigger impact with our work and reach more people? Because without that step, it won't make as much impact and it won't have as much of a difference in the world if we don't reach more people. So a little bit about me. I've been in the media game a long time, about 25 years. I got my Sustainable Business MBA from Presidio Graduate School, which is a sustainability business school located in San Francisco, California. Some of the things I've founded over the years that have given me my experience base and my expertise. Coming out of school, that's a photograph with the mayor of Berkeley, where I won an innovation award for rewarding eco-consumers for taking positive actions in retail, taking photos of Instagram of what they were doing, what they were buying, and then we would reward them with our rewards partners through Square Cash. So we won an award for that, for eco business efficiency and innovation. Since that time, I've started Brickhouse Media, which is my last name, and it's a media company. And it involves empowering thought leaders and professionals and startups. In 2018, we started Zen Hustlers, which is about finding a balance between business and work, because we found that a lot of entrepreneurs were really out of balance and did not have that centered mindset of how do I lead and fulfill all the other obligations of my life. And then in 2018, we created an online course to reach more people called Break On Through. We're going to be kind of going through an overview of how do you transform from an expert into a leader based on media. So this is a little bit about the work that we actually do. We unify all these things under what we call multimedia marketing. So we use data to analyze what's working. We leverage the media that we create. We post things to social, to video, to email, to websites. We leverage photography, and then we actually create a process for people. We started back in 2013, and now we're based in Santa Cruz, California, but we started up in Oakland, California. These are the people that we love to work with. So when I went through the MBA program, I realized that there's a lot of people in the world and there's a lot of different opportunities and ways that I could contribute my gifts. And who do I want to empower and support? These are some of the people that we love to empower and support. We feel like we want to push their mission, their goals, what they're trying to do, and who they're trying to impact. And so we carefully vet our clients and we allow them to take it one step further where they're going, or maybe multiple steps further from where they are today, either if they're starting as a startup, they've never created a business, or they have a small business on the side, or this is their full-time thing with a whole team under them. Regardless, we work with companies who want to make an impact by leveraging media, and they've gotten clear on that fact, and they want to work with us. Our typical engagements are from 3 to 12 months. Our goal is to transform experts into leaders. So many people in the world have expertise. They work in science, they work in law, they work in medical. It does not make someone a leader, though. Being an expert is a uniquely different experience to being a leader. The reason why I love this image, and we use this image a lot, is because a leader is willing to put themselves into a spotlight, as you see here, present something to the world, whether it be in person or audio or video or even just text as an author, and then share that with an audience. You need to have the people in blue. You need to have an audience to be a leader. Otherwise, you are, there's not really an ability to impact more people with your work. As an expert, you can get kind of siloed. You can be kind of quieted by the industry or the company that you work in, because we work with entrepreneurs also who work inside companies. So we see that we're empowering people to step into that spotlight, step into that leadership role, talk to people in a more public way as a company or as a person. So this is a quote we've been saying for a few years now. How do we disrupt leadership? And it's very possible. So gone are the days of obtaining a PhD, authoring a book, traveling and speaking to be considered a thought leader. Those are the benefits after you start your journey. And you can start at any age and any stage. I've seen 6-year-old thought leaders and I've seen 90-year-old thought leaders that were getting started at those ages. They weren't adding up a whole lifetime of career. So it does not require you to have the PhD, already have the book, already be a paid speaker or consultant traveling the world to be this. It's about flipping that model and inverting it. And those are the benefits after you start this journey. These are some of the actual benefits. It's not just a theoretical title to be a thought leader. There will be new revenue opportunities coming your way. You will have an ability to impact more change. You will change your reputation. You will have more control in your life. You will get invited to speak and author and do different things, whether it's on Zoom, in person, or online. And you will have new collaboration and offers coming to you as a thought leader. These are very tangible. All my clients have experienced either one or multiple of these, and they are extremely excited that they stepped into this leadership role. So we've broken it down into 6 areas, and they're not the only areas, but these are 6 areas I'm going to focus on today. It's also the 6 areas that we built our course around, Break On Through, to allow people to really change from being that expert into that leader. So I'll just quickly go through them. You want to define your purpose as a personal brand or as a company. You want to create that brand. Who is it? What does it look like? How does it speak? You want to have a branded home base, HQ, as a website or some platform that you can control. You then want to create content that is aligned with that brand, that is about your message and what you want to say and how you want to say it. Then you want to syndicate that content to as many related channels as possible. And at that point, then you're launching. You're on your mission, you're in the universe, and you're out there in the world, and people are then seeing and experiencing you and your brand. So it's really the time, it's never been a better time, considering what's going on in the world, to make an impact, to leave a mark, to step into that spotlight and really emerge into leadership. We've never needed leaders more than in times of challenge. And there's challenge all around us, whether it's health, physical, climate change, interpersonal, mental health. You pick it. There is a challenge in every corner of the universe. So finding that challenge area shouldn't be the problem. It's how do I address that challenge area, make my mark, and have an impact on people's lives. I'm just going to go through these quickly. And again, you're going to have these slides, so don't feel like you got to take anything down. The challenge of purpose is that people are deeply apathetic and disengaged. I mean, a majority of Americans and around the world, millennials to Gen Y to Gen X to Gen Z, are not engaged in the work that they do every day. And we spend a majority of our lifetime at work. And it's really important that we don't waste that life energy in jobs and lives that we don't care enough about to make an impact. These are some of the benefits if you can align with your deeper purpose in your work. You will have a longer life. These are proven statistics through Stanford and other research organizations. This is from planetpurpose.org. I'll be speaking about them later. You will have a stronger mindset about your life. You actually have a healthier heart. You may have a more profitable business and a more rewarding life where you care about the relationships and the things that are happening in your life. And it's really more important to you that you have aligned with your purpose and you now can spread it out to the world. These are a couple of examples of personal meshed with business brands where people are using their personal brand as their name to build a business around. This is the new business model. It's not about creating a physical product anymore. It's actually about creating a bold, voice-driven persona. And who are you and what are you going to do? And these are just two examples that have risen to great stardom and fame in the online marketing world about being a thought leader in these areas, Lewis Howes and Brendan Burchard. And if you don't know these two people, the minute that you start following any of their channels, you will immediately see how many people and millions of people they reach. And regardless of if you agree with everything that they say, they are reaching millions of people on a weekly basis. And if you've got a message that you feel like is going to empower and help the world, that's what's important. You're reaching a lot of people and it gives them an opportunity to take an action. So I encourage you to create a culture, and I have the @ symbol to create a branded name, create something that people can get behind, whether it be your name or a company name, and identify a persona that's attractive with a voice that's unique. Be bold, stand out from the crowd, say something that other people are not saying, say it in a way that's authentic to you. I love Richard Branson. I show my allegiance to him. This man has done so much for the planet and so much for business. And how do we tackle sustainable business? How do we give back? How do we do things the right way? How do we create elder academies, things like that have just blown me away. And runs over 300 businesses. I don't think people often realize that. He has under over 300 brands under the Virgin business brand, and he is amazing at standing out. He's got such an identity and personality. He is focused in niche markets in those areas of those businesses, whether it be not just travel. He's tackled banking, mobile phones, gyms, fitness, health, and then he's created things like the Elders Academy. No, sorry, that's not the correct names. The Elders Tribal.
The leader.
I'm sorry?
The leaders
The
and
Elders,
like famous Bishop something from South Africa or
Bishop Tutu. Yeah, Bishop Tutu.
Mm-hmm.
Former presidents are involved. It's really incredible. Thank you, Melanie. They create a culture and a vibe around them that's very tangible. You can feel it. and their passion is really attractive. That's one key about being a thought leader, is that you have a passion for what you do, and it attracts people to your passion for what you care about. This is a fantastic book if you've never read it. It's Simon Sinek's Start With Why, and it is a primer for any leader who's going into it. And his online content after you read the book is top notch. And since COVID, he has only stepped it up to sharing almost daily how to take action, be responsible, create a great team and great leadership under any circumstance. His method is very simple. It's you start in the center of the circle, why, and you identify your purpose. And then you circle out and you say, okay, so what, now that I know my purpose, how am I going to do this? And that's your process that you're going to deliver your business or create something that you want to build around, or be it nonprofit or an NGO or an organization or a community service. And then the what is the very tangible thing. I'm going to create a book. I'm going to create a website. I'm going to create a shoe company that donates shoes, like Tom did, every time someone buys a shoe. So often people start with what, and we want to invert that model and start with the why. How are we going to deliver that? And then the what is the products, because the products will change. So if you start with the product, you're thinking small. You're starting with one thing. You want to start bigger and then work down to product, because you might have multiple products under whatever you're creating under that big.
I don't know if anyone else is having this question, but when I think of the how, and yeah, if anyone wants to raise their hand, or, because I know we didn't do, quite introduce everybody, but the how, it also seems like the vehicle. And you mentioned the how, like the how being, the agency or the type of business. Is that also a how?
Mm-hmm.
Would you cluster that there?
Yeah, the how is how do I fulfill on my purpose, and it's bigger than the tangible product. So maybe you're going to become like Melanie, for example. The how is you create global events, and this event is your product. This event is your product or service. But the how is I'm going to create global impact events. And then you can deliver that in a variety of different ways as far as products. And then after this event, you might have products that you can give back to the world after you've done that through your global events. Does that make sense?
I'm just checking on different ways to describe the 7 stages to sustainability, because what we're not trying to create something new, but really adhere to the proven hero's journey and the cycle of life,
Mm-hmm.
and how nature works. And, that's really the goal here, is to see how we can see these patterns and communicate them, and find the best practices and tools to help that journey be more successful for impact leaders. So it works well, like to say, here we are, stage 5 is about developing those products, and now it's about like kind of furthering the products right now and taking them to market. And then so cool. And the how would be something calls us, this is a very summarized 7 stages in a way, because something is calling you to action. And then from that, the idea is that you build your team, you take your team, you find others, partners, people who are sharing your passion and that can help, right? And that might be the staff, that might be whatever. And then from that, you assess your collective assets that can actually be ingredients to help determine what is a realistic how, right? Do we want to have a nonprofit? And it's kind of, I don't want to cut in too much here, but it's an interesting, with the why and having that purpose, it's like you kind of have to have a little bit of a vision in order to have the process for the how, right?
Yeah, I hope you actually have a big vision, and it's a really big, bold vision that inspires you, because this work is not easy. And so if it's not personally aligned and you don't have a motivating force, that identifies with you as an individual first, you're going to burn out. And we're seeing a lot of burnout in a lot of different areas across any sector. So if you can deeply align with that purpose, it gives you a motivational energy to keep going. That's the other part of this. It's like people are burning out because they're just running themselves ragged. It's not that they haven't found their purpose, but they're burning out because of just overwhelm and not having a process that's scalable and workable. And then products that maybe aren't aligned with different things, so people aren't as motivated to get involved with them. So it's like you said, it's ingredients to a formula, and we're baking something, and we're trying to deliver something that's really enticing and attractive to others that want to get involved, so that you can also step away as a leader. That's a big part of being a leader, is not being in the trenches every day, being able to have time to have that vision and that sense of scale. If you're trying to figure out like a brand, and a brand is just literally, it could be a person, it could be a business, it could be a branded product that you want to deliver to the world, it could be a service. You want to think about like, well, what, this is a little bit of an exercise that we do in the course. You know, if the business entity or the brand or the nonprofit was a person, where would they live? What would they work? What would they speak like? What are the things that they love? What do they listen to? What do they eat? And you want to think like that. And it's not you personally that's answering these questions. You're thinking more holistically around, who are the people I want to attract for this, and what aligned values and interests do they have, so that when they hear this messaging, it comes right through to them. I had mentioned this earlier. This is another fantastic book by Seth Godin. I recommend it. That All Marketers Are Liars, or All Marketers Tell Stories. And I think we're going to hear a little bit more of that with our second speaker, that it's not really about just the stuff anymore. It's not just this widget product. It's really about a story and a weaving of a story into your brand and into your products that allows people to get behind you. The challenge is we've got a lot of different people with different worldviews, which is the lens that you look at the world through. And then you have frames that you look at the world through, which is the feelings that you feel when you look at things. And then we have a lot of people with biases. We often try to change everyone's worldview, frame, and bias, and sometimes that's impossible. So we have to work on the people that are amendable and malleable to changing their frames and biases. But it often can be difficult to change someone's complete worldview that they were raised with or grew up with, or wherever they developed it. That can be a challenge. So when you're crafting that online world, you don't want to try to go after everyone. You really want to find your audience niche, and then try to make an impact with them and allow them to share and get bigger with that. You do have to share, and you do have to curate, well, what am I going to share with others? And think of it, I love this slide because it reminds me of a gallery. And I used to have an art gallery in San Francisco. What are the things you want to hang on the walls? If you wanted people to come through your space, what are the things you want them to look at? What are the things you want them to pay attention to? And so you become a curator online using digital media. And if you do in-person events, it could be the messaging and the speakers that you have. So just spend time thinking about, what are those things I do want others to feel and experience? Now, the overwhelm part is, oh my God, how do I develop 100% of all the content? For the people that are getting started, we don't recommend that you do that. We actually don't recommend. We recommend that you focus 80% on other people's content in the beginning. And we want it in a couple buckets, that it's educational, it's inspirational, it's insightful to others. And always give homage to who created it, and pay, let people know that this is not your content, and, identify it as that, and thank the person that has offered it, and give credit where it's due. But 20% of the time when you're starting out, it should be about original content, things that you do, your leadership, your events, your specials that you're offering, whatever it is. So if you take a Monday through Friday week, one day of the week should be about that. And the other 4 days of the week, as you get started, you can share other people's educational, inspirational content. Now, this will invert as you get more successful and as you get bigger and have more support. So you will become the 80% soon, and 20% you might be sharing other people's content. And it's a flow. There's not one rule only. These are a couple of examples of, how do I deliver all this? Okay, so I've got my brand, I've got content. How do I deliver it, and what platforms? So personally, I like YouTube to educate people, because it's an amazing search engine for people who are looking for solutions. The center one is about entertainment, which might be going live or what we're doing today with Zoom or conferences or webinars. And it's more engaging, so it's live. And then I like things like Instagram and Facebook for inspiration, to keep people on a daily basis checked in, aligned with the content that you're creating. And these are just some high-level strategies for engagement. Now, when it comes to a place of, hey, I want to share one thing, I want to encourage you to move past the idea of just sharing one thing. We use a service called Buffer, which delivers content to a variety of platforms all at once. It's inexpensive. Any person or business could afford it. And it allows you to time deliver content to a variety of channels like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all in one step. So it's really efficient. You want to curate the content that you have, and then you can use tools like Hootsuite and other management tools to see what is working, how many people are engaging with this post or this platform, and then figure out your formula for what's working. The challenge is that people just don't know what to do. They find this confusing or elusive, or they're just not clear. What am I supposed to do? How do I get from A to B? And I want to offer that we've created a course all around everything I'm talking about to step into this leadership role by leveraging media and marketing, so that you can actually identify with your niche audience in the crowd. They're really open and responsive to what you're saying, and you can have a bigger impact. These are some of the other experts that we've brought in for our course. I want to let you know that Brandon Peele is the author of this book, Planet on Purpose. So he joins us on the course. Stephanie is actually his wife, who helps about business strategy and how are you going to plan out and actually deliver on your promises. Geraldine offers brand and strategy on how do you build that brand that's connective. And then Danielle is an absolute course expert on how to build and leverage your own course. So if you want to learn more about it, here is the web address, bhmedia.co/BOT for Break On Through. And it's a six-fold path. We start with a thought leadership exploration. We help people identify their personal brand through a discovery process. We help you craft your online world. What is it going to look like and feel like? You start to curate content for growth that's going to touch people. And then you're going to actually share that through multiple channels, because we want to cast the widest net we can now. We don't know what platforms people are going to engage on first. I gave you a couple earlier of Instagram, YouTube, and going live. We just don't know exactly where people are going to be responsive to your work. And then launching into that leadership role, speaking, authoring, webinars, podcasts, all the different ways that we can leverage media in this new realm. And I also offer one-on-one consultations. So yeah, this is your moment. This is time to change the game, either with this course or with other work that you have in the world. And I encourage you to at least learn about it. There's an invitation on that site to hear from other students who've gone through the course and their experiences. I always love to have people share what's working best. If you want to have a discovery call with myself, there's the website to reach me individually. And that's my slides. Thank you, Melanie, and thanks to the Global Summit for having me. I'll take any questions if we have time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jared. And
No, you're welcome.
yes, and thank you. Jared has also been a supporter and collaborator, helping us with our Impact Games slides presentation, and really helped us up level our own messaging. And just there's a lot that you covered that I'm like, oh my gosh, definitely need to dive in deeper. And it's always that 20-80% and figuring out where you are, and it's how you tweak those things can really make the difference. I mean, for the effort that we're already putting in, how we package and expand our audience is obviously critical. And it's like, we can always play small, and that's what we're here for. As you said, leaders need to be, it's a process, and we could just spend years on leadership. So we're really trying to take in this course as not only leaders, but movement building, right? We are beholden and dedicated and committed to that scale. And taking responsibility for that beautiful future that we know is possible.
Yeah.
Now is the time.
And if I were to leave it with anything, we really want to invite people to step into that leadership mindset first and not wait for some external thing to happen in their lives that has to validate that so they feel like they can't speak first. Now is your time to speak. And if you're passionate about something and your expertise may be short-term or long-term, now is your time to raise your voice and have a voice and speak. It's not time to play small, and it's not time to be on the sidelines. We just don't have time. We don't have time for small thinking. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments or questions right now? All right.
Yeah, great.
And I know we're
Well, actually, I'll ask one or two question, a two-part question, sort of. What is the time commitment for your course, more or less?
So those six-fold path is a 6 to 8 week typical process.
Okay.
And we've seen students go through it, and by week 3 or 4, they're already getting tangible benefits coming in as far as speaking engagements, opportunities to collaborate and partnerships and new revenue, where they've identified and created a new brand, put it out, and people are contacting them. We just had an all people of color cohort go through this summer. We identified that we wanted to give back as a small organization. So we empowered 4 entrepreneurs of color. And within 3 to 4 weeks, they were already seeing massive increases in their business, in their reputation, and then invitations for them to collaborate and have more of an impact. And it didn't matter what industry, George. That was the coolest thing. One was in HR, one was a patent innovator, one was in education, and one was developing an app. I mean, it's a process. So if you work the process, it delivers. Yeah. So it's roughly a 6 to 8 week process.
And what's the financial cost?
We do have a scholarship. The course is $24.96 for the 6 weeks, and that includes one-on-one time with myself, guide you, and we also offer scholarships. So we like to have scholarships nominated. Yeah.
Oh, and I posted the website right here in the chat. It's
great.
So I think there's more details, and yay, Lisa's here from Nova Scotia. It sounds amazing, Jared. I'm so glad we could just have a little bit of your cute little highlights from that, and really looking forward to working with you more.
Yeah.
Is there anything you recommend preparation work before the course? Any recommended readings and stuff like that?
The books that I recommend, start with Why, and then All Marketers Are Liars and Tell Stories. He's changed the title. It's the weirdest. I've never seen an author do it. He actually changed the title and says All Marketers Tell Stories. So this is an older version. I think the newer version says, and he literally crosses out the cover. But it's really about embodying story and your purpose into anything that you're doing.
Awesome.
So yeah, that really tickles me, because a thing you don't know, and we may have met, Jared. So I was founder of a multimedia company here in Austin. And that's what we first called things in 1990. And I also I sat down in 1993 with a napkin with 2 other guys, and we formed another thing I'm pretty sure you've heard of, South by Southwest Interactive.
Yeah. So I was bummed that it was canceled this year.
Yeah, that was another one of my visionary creative things. But the thing that I said, the 20 years that my company existed, I said, I am glad now I'm using all my multimedia skills for the ocean. And I said, because for 20 years, all I did was tell marketing lies.
So you really need to read this book. This is going to be your Bible.
And it wasn't
really
marketing lies, but it just, it was just that we were having to make up smoke and mirror demos of some new product to get people to buy something. So we were having to say, this is what the product's going to do. and they hadn't even finished, IBM or Microsoft or Dell hadn't even finished the product yet. We were working with it a year before it was done.
Amazing. Hey,
Yeah,
so I wanted to, sorry to interrupt. I'm
okay.
excited to welcome.
We'll speak again, George. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jared. Great to be back in the States with you after a lot of our conversations from Tokyo. Welcome, Charlene. Thank you so much for being here. Great to see your face. And you're just in time. We're just moving from Jared's presentation on some of the gems of Break On Through thought leadership course and some really, core essentials of digital marketing and as a thought leader and change agent. Welcome, Lisa. Great to have you with us. Lindy is here calling in from Sweden. We've got Zahra here from Jordan. Keegan, great to see you. Good morning. Mark is going to be closing off and leaving on the hour. So we have a super powerhouse next to presentations, moving from individual marketing as a personal brand and thought leader, or taking your brand into your company with Jared. Deanna, I'm going to hand it over to you now, talking about organizational fundraising and all of that beautiful work that you do. And Mark is going to be presenting and sharing about impact investment and hybrids and pulling it all together. So thank you again, everyone. Thank you, Jared and Deanna. Thank you. Welcome. I hand you the mic.
Thank you. Good morning. And I appreciate the invitation, Melanie. Wonderful that you're doing online education. And I think this is more than education. It's kind of catalytic, as the name CAT says. We're here to present both to the wonderful live audience, but also inviting others into evolving with us. So I wanted to first start by thanking you, Melanie, for setting up this forum. And it's an honor to be here with Mark, with George, with Jared, who just gave us a really insightful presentation around what do you do with a great idea to give it birth. And so essentially in my role, I'm a fundraiser and I'm a manager. And so those two things are kind of complementary, because to birth something, sometimes you need an infusion of volunteerism, of resources, of money. So those are the things that I raise. It's not simply dollars. I'm raising energy to make things come to pass in the world. But then to sustain it and to really tame it and take it where you want to go, you need to manage it. So my title for today's presentation is Funding Gives, which seems a little kind of paradoxical or back and forth, but that is part of the dynamic. I think that funding is like a gift, but then there's also an expectation of a certain outcome or receiving that people will want. And on the same token, when you give a gift, you're receiving the amazing opportunity to make change, to make a difference, to catalyze, like Melanie does through her work with bringing new ideas, bringing new systems into play. So I wanted to start with outlining where I'm going to take you, and then I wanted to hear just briefly from the students or participants who are here across the world around their mission, sort of what they're doing with the work that they're doing, so that then I can inform what I'm saying based on that. So my objectives are threefold. They're around explaining sources of funding, then stewardship, how you bring people along with you, and lastly, about partnership, how to get the people who are behind your work to think with you, to make connections beyond the initial connection, and to really drive the work with you, so partnership. So the three key words today are, again, sources of funding, stewardship, and partnership. And those are the things I want you to think on in terms of your own work. Where are you sourcing energy, money, volunteers, the stewardship or keeping those things strong, and then partnership to take things that you're passionate about to the next step, to open to more markets, to increase the impact of your work. So as I move forward, I will be describing how you find people who want to fund the work that you do, the affinity groups, the networks or associations that might have a passion for what you're interested in, and the stewardship of those funds. So ensuring that the people who gave you funding understand the impact you're making and are really fired up and can relate through storytelling to the people who benefit from the gift that they receive, and also to understand stewardship, like being here and taking your time today, is a covenant. It's a sacred kind of space of trust that you will be honest about the work that you're doing. You will not exaggerate, you will be clear, and you will tell people where you're going to go next and be realistic about that. Lastly, really an important thing is the partnership, leveraging those who you know, using your networks and seeking other partners through your partners, so really bridging. I want to go ahead and begin with a quick open forum right now. Anyone who feels that they'd like to speak, please share. What is your mission? What are you working on in your nonprofit?
Well, I know we've got some really juicy ones right here. So, and at different levels. Lindy, are you in a spot to share?
Sure, I'll be able to share. This is Lindy Wafula again. I'm calling from Sweden, originally from Kenya, but because of Corona and all that is happening, here I am. I hope for you who are in the US, okay, you are voting. We hope that you will choose the best to come. As we are talking about fundraising, my organization started as a charitable organization called Project Africa. And we had to change with the times because charity is not there anymore. It's all about social entrepreneurship. Those who want to invest and those who are doing the work on the ground. So we are a social entrepreneurship today by the name Village Ventures International. Unfortunately or fortunately, thank you, Melanie. You're one of those who have supported us. But I will be honest to share also with Diana, like you have said, funding gives. I believe blessed is the hand that giveth than the hand that taketh. Blessed is the hand that gives more than the hand that takes. Hopefully, yes. But as we are going on to discuss and share what it is our challenge, to be honest, funding has been a problem. Village Ventures International, as a social entrepreneurship, is working on a fourfold mission. One, I will say that we work to empower women and girls, people with disabilities, I would say youth as well, and people with disabilities, but mainly our focus for the last couple of years has been to work with women and girls. Today, with the corona as it is, has affected many of the countries, we have seen that girls in East Africa have been running away from their homes because there is no schooling anymore, there is lockdown, and they are participating in very, very situations that I can't even explain. They are in prostitution to earn some income to take back to their mothers. They are getting married just to buy sanitary towels. Who understands this? Who knows the pain of the women in Africa? Many are the times that I've been called to platforms ahead to speak on women issues. But is it because just I'm African, then I will show on my skin will show an international concept? I hope not, but that is looks like what it has been. Today we have a challenge. I'm looking for a consultant that can work with us to fundraise to our projects. If we can find that in Diana, if we can find that in Melanie, if we can find that in Keegan or Mark or Jared, that will be my joy. Let us work together in collaboration. Let us see that we've made a change in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lindy. I think, you know, what I'm hearing is you have an incredibly urgent situation of a lot of need for social change, and you've been advised, let's not just bring money and provide immediate Band-Aid or intervention solutions, but let's look at how we build systems that allow women employment or income so that they can break cycles of having to just make do and to be in constant survival need. So I am excited by your project. Thank you so much for sharing. And you just told us a story. And in essence, anytime that I'm approaching a funder, whether it's in a public forum or in writing or reaching out via an email to somebody, I bring into play the talents that you'd have if you were telling a great story, like Melanie mentioned, the hero's journey. I think of The Alchemist as a great example of a story with the hero's journey. And any Disney movie out there is essentially the hero's journey. I was watching children on Halloween, a screening of Moana, which is a wonderful story of a Polynesian young woman coming of age and taking heroic action to be more than a passive princess. She was saving her people. So, you know, those stories that you tell, the possibility of what can be is what gets people excited about being a part of your project. And you want to ensure that, just like a reporter who's writing for AP or for the internet would check that they've described the who, what, where, when, why, and how of a situation, that you really begin, as Jared was saying, with why and making it really clear how the world will be a better place once this has come to pass, how women in Africa are going to hold a different status and have better options when Lindy is done with her work. So, you know, you dream and you co-create a future. You spell out for people what can be and the role that they can play in that transformation. So I'm going to pause for a moment and do screen share, if that's okay. I prepared a little overview of the key organization that might be a good touch point for all of you here: Lindsay, Zara, Keegan, Zach, Lisa, Charlene, and her friend. You would want to tap into this if you can through the internet to get more background on how do you fundraise, and most importantly, you know, how to engage with people. Can you see my screen at this point? It's an image of a home. Do you see my screen, people in the audience? Yes.
Yes.
Great.
Perfect. Thank
So
you.
this is just the title screen, but you know, the image there is of a property within the organization that I fundraise for, Kaminar. We're a mental health, behavioral wellness, and substance use disorder treatment facility. And the important thing that I tell the story about really is the vision we have is that everyone is valuable, everyone can be independent to some degree and guide their future and contribute. So the case that I make as I'm reaching out to people is that we're all important, we all should have a voice, and we all can be incredibly valuable to others as we are all in relationship. So here is the link that I wanted to share. It's called AFP, or the Association of Fundraising Professionals. And I enjoy the membership that I have with them and engage in workshops. I engage in online discussions. They're a wonderful peer network so that if you're working through a challenge, you can post it to others who have expertise in the field. So it's one of those important affinity groups that if you're just starting out in fundraising, they will offer mentors, they will offer scholarships to join their organization, and they are really working to be more inclusive in their work across the world. So they are global and they have a pretty big emphasis on Canada and the US, but they should be available to you wherever you are. So please consider going to AFP, and you'd want to download the Donor Bill of Rights, because as I mentioned, stewardship and honoring the privacy and the some important role of reporting back to funders is very important. If you want to become a professional fundraiser, AFP offers a certified fundraising professional, CFRE, or executive, certified fundraising executive certification. And several of my mentors have completed that. I have been in school for other things, but I think that's a great direction to go if this is your career. Do take a look at this on your own time, and know that they have resources here around events. You have chapters within different parts of the US and Canada. I'm a part of the AFP Golden Gate chapter here in San Francisco. So that is just an important tool that I wanted to bring to your attention as you move forward. And so now, as I move into discussing what you do to bring people to fund you. So Melanie knows about this, and others who are starting to enlist donors know that you want to, if at all possible, meet with them in person. As sales people know well that once a person has seen your enthusiasm and has a sense of your infectious passion for what you're doing, it is very difficult to disengage or ignore someone. So I know that Jared, no doubt you've been doing a lot of online education, so you're used to working in this format and you can still be effective in it. I do know that as a field, we are seeing a lot of jobs lost. Unfortunately, nearing 1 million nonprofit jobs in our country are gone. And so I realize the value that I have in still having the opportunity to fundraise. It is different though when you cannot bring someone in person to your site, you cannot sit and meet with them in their offices or over breakfast or a tea and get to know what they really care about the most. So it is harder to build relationships, but funding really stems from having an excellent idea and also the relationships that come to back it. So do try to meet with people through Zoom now and enlist them. Then once you have educated them and made them aware of the importance of your work, you will then confirm through either sending a proposal, sending a letter, defining in an email when they can help and how they can transfer the resources or bring the volunteers that you need. And then you steward that care with thanking them immediately once they give a gift so that they can have the tax write-off that they may want, or just so that they have a recognition of the importance of the work that they've joined you in doing. And lastly, you'll want to remember to go back to those who have invested before. It's really those who are closest to the organization, have capacity and concern. Those are the people who will be your ongoing donors. I was doing some research last night again around nonprofit organizations, and I realized I was lucky enough to have worked in the top 15 nonprofit organizations in the US. Both Boys and Girls Clubs of America and Planned Parenthood rank within the top 15 largest. And I'm seeing that really the ability to move quickly and effectively through your list of donors is benefited from having your organized database with donor records in it. Currently where I'm working, we have a tool called Live Impact. I've used Donor Perfect and I've used Razor's Edge, but taking notes and making that a living and active resource is also really important as you're doing your work. And it also helps you with this being in compliance and stewarding your donors. So just thought I'd mention that. I think it is really important. I will return to share screen in just a moment because I want to describe to you briefly how I find the people who are going to fund what we're going to do in our work. So how do I get to the people? Oh, Mel, you've disabled screen share. I don't know how, but I'm glad to see all of our faces together, but I had one last website I could show you. So I go and mostly you can scan the horizon and see who is funding nonprofits that do what you do. So look to those who are meeting similar needs and missions and identify who has supported them. That's very logical, sort of a scan of the environment, market analysis of the people who are already passionate for what you're doing, who get it, what do they do? And then you're also going to take a look at foundations that are really known in your region for the work that they do, and identify if they have an affinity to what you do. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint just briefly and show you another link that I felt was important for those of you who are going to move into fundraising. Again, there are alternatives. This is the slide that defines the Foundation Center, and the Foundation Center is something that I'm researching in order to, using to research who funds mental health, for example, within the counties that we're serving. And Kaminar is busy to state, you know, basically bringing medical and counseling help across 5 counties, from Butte in the north all the way through to San Jose area and Santa Clara County, all along the Bay Area. So I'm able to filter the organizations that only fund Butte County and mental health and substance use disorder. And I can then find who should I be reaching out to, who should I be meeting with and applying. So I'm going to click briefly on this login just to show you some of what they do, but I would really recommend you use this. There is a free tool where you can go in and use this thing called FC Online or FC Search, something like that, and it'll at least give you the basic contact information for foundations. So you will, this is recapping some of the things that I've said you can do to find funding. Search by a name that you've known, for example, the Packard Foundation, you search by their name, or search by organization name. You could search by Star Vista, one of the people who do work like we do.
Didi, I think you need to log into another screen.
What do you see right now?
I'm seeing the slide. Are you guys seeing the slide still? Did you want to show the website?
Yeah. So here is the website. And so basically, you know, I'm going to go in right now and show you how I can clear out anybody who isn't likely to be a fit for what we're doing.
We still only see the slide.
Okay. Oh yes, I'm gonna close the slide down. Let me just log in so that I'm sure it's gonna work for y'all.
Awesome. And while you're doing that, I also think if you're in the US, if you somewhere on there, you can actually find a listing of libraries where you can go, and in those libraries, do you get the full information?
Yes, Mel, you know, you can log in remotely now because we're not allowed into libraries. And so if they are a cooperating collection is what they call themselves, they are making this available free of charge. Wow. So I'm going to show you now how you search using filters. And this is really a great way to not only find the people who give, but let's say a friend connected you to a foundation and you're just learning about them, then you're going to also you're going to see what the media has been writing about them and what they're up to. Oh, I'm sorry, it's saying invalid username. Let me try one more time here. If not, I'll explain what you'd find in here.
But I think this screen needs to be closed, or you're gonna do it. Let me know if you need support. I'd be happy to open or whatever.
So do you see the foundation directory online now?
No, I think that maybe if you like go back to your share screen, it'll show different windows and you need to click on on the window that's your website. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see now.
I'm so glad that you're going over this. It's like one of the best kept secrets, and it shouldn't be a secret. And
yes, so again, you know, I think you can search in this website on your own time for the sake of time. It's fine. You can go there by following this link, FC Online, foundationcenter.org. And effectively, it's a way to, again, clarify, I am in Africa and I am searching for women's health, women's education, those kinds of clear elements to what you're funding, and then you can, what you're seeking funding for, and then you can move into new relationships. So I was going to say that, you know, as I'm moving forward with Kaminar, one of the things I'm wanting to really do is help communicate the organization's impact. So we are in the process of having just completed a 2-year strategic plan, and we'll be having an opportunity to outline our impact along a set of kind of change factors. So individuals counseled, individuals who have a step down in the level of severity of their mental illness, people who are given support who are survivors of domestic violence, young people who are LGBT who come to our youth space and find a safe space in order to engage and develop leadership skills. So we're beginning a dashboard of what we've accomplished with milestones that we're meeting. And those kinds of things really help and invoke a lot of passion and interest in what you're doing. They are also important tools for your comms, the things that we were told by Jared, you're reaching out to people to communicate by social media. And also you would be able to share these stories at events, doing great overviews by your CEO or your spokespeople who can really outline what difference you've made as an organization. Another thing that you want to do is you want to get out to the media and find media allies who want to share the good work that you're doing, who will call on you when they have panels, who will reach opinion leaders and local political figures. So the sustaining of your brand, the sustaining of the importance of your mission really comes from finding your affinity groups, bridging from the networks, and then using those networks to amplify your voice and get the word out about what you're doing. So lastly, I had this point that was on my outline, and it was renew activists with sort of infusions of the work that we've done. In my organizational development training, we learned something called appreciative inquiry. And this is something that you can bring as a framework or that you can engage your organization in over 6 months. So when I was consulting with nonprofits around organizational mission-driven change, we used appreciative inquiry processes to really give sort of the heart back to the organization, to bring back the passion. So I think that that's important to keep in mind. You'll be on an upward trend. And if things get stagnant, bring in some consultants, bring in that new perspective. So I know that many of you, the participants today, Lindy, Zara, Keegan, Zach, Lisa, and Charlene, and others who will watch later, are at the initial stages. But if I can underscore anything, it is that funders are partners. You're bringing them an opportunity to make a difference, and they are giving you the resources to bring your vision into fruition. So work with them closely, honor the importance of their trust, and carry forward with your sense of what's possible, because we need that more than ever. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yay, thank you. Go ahead, Lindy. Thank you so much,
Yes,
Dee. Thank
should
you.
Can I join in with a question kindly?
Yes, please.
Sorry so much. I've just started my TED talk, which I thought I would just share, the link, so that others will be able to see, as Diana has said that we need to share with the media and several others to just share the vision and the passion that we have to fight poverty and the like. With all due respect to Diana, with all due respect to you, my dear sister, I will say this. I have been a member of the Opportunity Collaboration Conference, which now is called OC Impact. I attended the Opportunity Collaboration Conference, which is a network of social investors and social entrepreneurs. But you can imagine coming all the way to Mexico, my first time to the OC, is because somebody saw the work Lindy was doing and she said, oh, this is a great lady. This is a great leader. let me sponsor her to go to the OC. I was given 100% sponsorship as a CODES Foundation Fellow. We were 21. I got a second chance from the Global Philanthropy Alliance. Why? Because the people who funded our project met me at the OC. So as much as we say that we have to write, we have to do any communication just like that. No, it needs meeting.
Yeah.
It means, it is, trust is built on a one-to-one perspective where I feel I have met Diana, I have met Lindy, I think we can work together. But for those that have kept on sending emails to them and say, look at my work, can you people sponsor us? No response comes. No response comes. Only those that I've met and they have seen the work on the ground and have seen who Lindy is, that they say, we can identify her with the project. How do we overcome this? When many social entrepreneurs are in developing countries like Kenya and cannot afford to go to Opportunity Collaboration Conference every year. What do we do? That's my question.
Thank you, Lindy. And, I was going to say, I welcome you to continue to be in dialogue with me. The PowerPoint that I presented today will be available. My email is there. So part of it, again, is finding people to introduce you. And when we are growing our organization, we look to the board of directors to help us open doors. So find your friends and have them find friends and have them introduce you, because people will help people along. Any other questions around a nonprofit fundraising, AFP, how you find the right funders? Because it doesn't work if you send out 100 proposals to 100 random donors. You're going to have maybe a 2% success rate. You want to study the people who you're going to approach and meet them where their passion and their interests are. That's one thing I forgot to say, but that's important.
I have another question I will say kindly, if you don't mind. Right now, with what I have gone through as a social entrepreneur and also running charitable organizations for the last couple of years and the like, and with my education international relations, I have seen or think I should take another trajectory as a founder and as a leader, where I would like to employ or engage a consultant who, out of the work she does or he does to fundraise for us, we can say your share is 10%. So that then it doesn't just look like it's all charity going for free, because there is engagement in whatever sense that anybody will engage in. They will need a website, they will need a laptop, they will need transport to call people or to go and meet funders and the like. Do you think this is good for me to take that route, Diana?
That is an ethical question. In California, professional fundraisers need to be registered with the Registry of Charitable Trusts, Attorney General's office, with a division of the Attorney General's office, because some people make big promises, take money from nonprofits, and then don't deliver. So I think do not engage someone who wants to sort of fundraise for you based on a percent, because I think that they should, just like any other professional, charge you an hourly rate, and then you can vet them by calling people who they've worked with to ensure that they are legitimate and that they understand the AFP code of ethics, and a really important thing.
But then what will be my indicators that they are really working? I may be paying an hourly rate, but there's no indicator to say there is a result. The result that I'm looking for is funding.
Right. I'd say ask organizations that have succeeded in similar fields who they worked with, and go with someone's resume, go with their track record.
Great point. Thank you. And yeah, Lindy, it's such a great, it's a really interesting conversation. the ethics of fundraisers. I mean, whether to spend time on writing grants, and something you said, Deanna, that stood out. You said 1 million people in the nonprofit field have lost their jobs in the US. And this is a systemic issue, right? Where when we need those services and projects most, the budgets are cut. So this is a big, big conversation. It's an existential question of, like how we're running our whole society, that the work that's needed is like a crumb in a way, out of capitalism. I mean, so yeah, how do we model that? How do we decommodify change agent contributions? And how do we collaborate to get bigger, greater things done instead of creating more silos? So that's why we have this group, and I think we need more of those, and that's why we also will have the reflection conversations to go, all right, how do we deal with these systems, right? So yeah, Deanna, I mean, what you're saying with also the appreciative inquiry, that was as an organization, but I'm also hearing that could be something with donors and really connecting one-on-one. Another resource I just want to mention is Lynn Twist, and she has the Soul of Money Institute, and her work is really inspiring as a philosophy that, and also How Women Lead, which is related to the project that I met Lindy through like 10, 12 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, sorry, in 2012, which was Women Leaders for the World. And the founder of that, I mean, she has all of her board members, whatever, they give $25,000, and she really sees it as an opportunity for them. And she's just a certain type of leader, and she's saying, you give your money, boom, here it is. And she follows the Lynn Twist philosophy, which is your contribution, this is an opportunity to make a difference, and really knowing in your heart that there are people out there that want to contribute. Sometimes we get hung up on our own money issues about receiving. If somebody gives me money, I'm going to be beholden to them. Obviously, you do have a responsibility if you take someone's money to be transparent, and that it's, creating an impact, and also a moral responsibility, that person is wanting to make a difference. And so you should know that if they're giving to your project or investing in it, whatever, that it's actually having that impact, because it could be going somewhere else, right? So it's all of those. Responsibility is the key. Power with responsibility, and we're going to talk about that more next week in our stage 7, week 8, around democratic society and responsibility. At the end of the day, it is relationships. That's what I'm hearing.
Finally, as we wind up, Melanie, if I will just say something as an advice to those of us who are on the conference, on the call today, I will be honest to say that those who have funded us, Village Ventures International funded Lindy Wafula and her projects in Africa, many of them who I have had ease with are family foundations. Family foundations, and probably social investors, individual social investors, but mainly family foundations. I've kept on asking myself why, but I come to realize this. Family foundations can make a decision on the dinner table and say, we have met Lindy, let us fund her projects. But when we go to the big organizations that have lots of money, the UN, the female bank or a women's bank all over the world or whatever, there's a lot of protocol that you can't even get to the secretarial desk. So as we are funding for our projects and our social enterprises, I advise, look for those family foundations that can give capital, small businesses that can share, like Jared has said, and don't waste time going to the big bureaucratic organizations that just make jobs for themselves. Thank you again.
Thank you, Lindy. Mark resonates with that, I see. And I'll say it's who you know, right? And it's what is the fit? It's just like the project needs to fit the community that you're serving. And George, do you have your hand up? Do you want to chime in? And before you go, I'll just say,
finish.
Diamonds for Peace, which is a fiscally sponsored project working in Liberia to create better working conditions for minors in their communities. They're getting funding through the World Bank. And, you know, it happens to be that they're good with protocol. You know, the founder's in Japan, she's really, and I've had to help her with some admin things. It depends. So it's like permaculture, it depends. I think for what you're doing, Lindy, you have an incredible story. I mean, when I met you, you're a poet, you are powerful, you're passionate. You know, your type of project might resonate more with family foundations than the UN that's looking for more, you know, whatever you want to call it.
Organizations.
Yeah, I hear you, girl. And George, go ahead. And then I'm excited. I want to make sure we have a whole half hour for Marc
Right.
to vlog with you, Marc, and bring whatever you've got out, because I know you have to go exactly at the half hour. Go ahead, George. I'd love to.
So thanks, Deanna. I have three little things. One is maybe for Lindy, what about, I'll call it, because I wrestle with this too, of there's a lot of grant writers that seem like they've worked on this percentage basis before. So what about something along the lines of a 5%, but a cap at some number? Because I go, wait a minute, you write a grant for $1 million, you spend, I don't know how much time, and you expect $50,000 for writing a grant, or, you know, things like that. It just, it gets way out of whack very quickly on a percentage basis. So that's just one thing that it's okay, because Lindy's trying to drive them. If you don't get this done, if I don't get funded, you're not going to get money, more or less.
Mhm.
And the other side of the coin, so she wants to make sure they're working towards the goal. So that's how you incent them with the percent. But it also needs to have some kind of realistic thing to it. So that's just a concept and idea. And so I have a subscription to Grant Station, which is very similar, I think, to what you were showing everybody there.
It's very, very limited. We've had that as well with Empowerment Works, and that's available to Lindy. I think that the resource that Deanna showed, especially now with COVID, it being, I think, even more accessible. But I would say, George, let's we have.
Well, I just want to know, her opinion. So is there a difference in that database? That's my question.
I'll tell
Since
you
she
right
knows.
now, there's a huge database difference. Dee Dee, you can chime in.
I'm talking, and the paid subscription, not the free one, the paid subscription. Big difference?
Again, I bring that, I'm not working for them. I get no kickback for mentioning Foundation Center. There is Foundation Search USA, which is another great resource. There are many to choose from, but I found that you can get the best filtering from them. There's something I wanted to mention, that many organizations, especially now with COVID, are choosing to invest more deeply in those they've already funded. So it's harder and harder to open those doors, but you would use an advocate who who can speak to someone on their side to possibly work around the giving only to pre-selected organizations line. So look for that and avoid those until you have no one else to turn to, and then go back and investigate those. What Foundation Center can be used for is, let's say you want to start something off at a certain point, you'd go in, bring all the data and the addresses and contacts that you need from the system into your computer, and then you could turn the subscription off. So though it would cost about more than almost $2,000 a year to have it, you can do it for a month for, I think, $199, do deep research, save all of that, work from there, and then re-engage it when you have more resources. So that's my recommendation. Otherwise, you have it available for free through public libraries, and would want to find out how to do that.
Is there any way to find grant writers who've done, I want to find grant writers who've got at least some experience writing something related to ocean conservation in their past, so to find it by their expertise?
I would call your friends who work at the ocean related nonprofits. So, people with the local Monterey Bay Ocean Conservancy,
most of them don't want to share their grant writer because, anyway. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, though they have an official grant writer on staff, they may bring someone in who does contract work. So that's who you'd ask about.
Yeah, maybe. And actually another resource for that, idealist.org is a massive database of nonprofit and fundraising professionals and a great way to get human resources for that. But I would just say there's many things that will sell products for fundraising, and the Foundation Center has been built over like decades. I mean, I think it actually sources the official extent of the list of foundations. So it's the most comprehensive, just from my own experience with it. Love it. Thank you so much. Great questions, great resources. And Marc, so happy to hand this over to you and then to reflect on all of this weekend in our reflection sessions and go deeper.
Lots of important questions. And George, I was laughing when you said, nobody wants to share their grant writer, and it seems that that's the world we live in, right? But it's something that we need to change eventually. Thus, perfect segue to my presentation.
Now it's all you. Yep. Well, that's the whole point.
I
Why
cannot
we're
share.
building collaborative here. We're trying to change it now.
You need to allow me to share, Melanie.
I changed when I did the screen sharing. I gave you back the host. So, do you want to make? I think you need to make me the host again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dee Dee
But
does.
you're the host now.
Am I the host? Okay. Now you should be. I'm gonna make. Can you?
Everybody the host.
Can you make? Yeah, let's all co-host. Let's all be co-hosts. I'm gonna make you the co-host.
I still can't share. Okay. Oh, now you can. Okay, perfect.
All right. Thanks.
So this, okay. So I'm going to change a little bit the conversation from, and I'm not going to, well, let me start over again, just a little tiny bit about me, because I'm afraid I might not have enough time. I spent a good chunk of my professional and adult life at the avant-garde of some really interesting breakthrough technologies. In the 1990s, I was involved in building model-driven decision support systems, things that we call MDSS, and employing a very similar approach to designing web-based cooperative DSS in the education and entertainment fields, with my first company, I mean, my actually second company technically, was named Glama. And in the 2000s, there was a first life-changing event in my career after the bubble burst, and I got a call from one of my former clients, said, I need someone to repackage and market a disinfectant. And it was a disinfectant with the lowest EPA toxicity rating. And that, for me, I entered a world that I had absolutely no clue existed, that we were actually surrounded by toxic chemicals. We're pretty much a chemical soup, an experiment, walking on legs. And that led me to start working on policymaking. Just to, for instance, get out of that mindset that most of policymakers have, not looking at the second effect of toxic chemicals. And the second effect is, how do they interact with each other when they enter the body, for instance. In 2010s, I kept doing some policy making. I worked on the benefit corporation legislation here in California with wonderful legislator Jared Hoffman. and worked in the fields of agriculture and aquaculture, working specifically on cleaning water using microbes and restoring soil using microbes. Then I went, my second, and that's the last, amongst many others, life-changing event was to be invited to go to the Amazon. And this is literally when things shifted for me, being really focused on problems to being exposed to living systems. And that goes with and that goes in terms of philosophy. How do we see the world? How do we see what we do? How do we see who we are? Right? So if I go back to, why is it not working? Oh yeah, it is working. If I go back to social impact venture and what is it, we talk about when we speak of social impact. First, let's remember that social good is commonly defined as any action that benefits society at large. It implies a positive impact on individuals or society. And that's really important because when we speak, for instance, of oil companies or social impact, there is absolutely no organization today that exists that did not provide a social benefit, such as oil and chemical companies, right? Everything that you're surrounded with has some way been, formulated using plastics or chemicals. And that definition has often been equated with foundations and charities and rarely with businesses, although most business, as I said, could not survive without providing directly or indirectly some benefits to society. Social enterprise was created as an alternative to existing form of private and public organizations to generate greater social or environmental impact through innovative services or product, integrating financial performance, social benefits, and environmental responsibility in the organization's strategic decisions. And the emergence of various forms of governance, and that's really interesting, whether they are benefit corporation, holacracy, employee-owned businesses, or business-led movement like B Corps, triple bottom line, the fourth sector, conscious, sustainable, green, fair trade, and regenerative are reflective of a shared vision to transition from the dominant capitalist system that we live in into one that creates a shared and durable prosperity for all, right? So, and I want to point to Drake Sadler. If you don't know, Drake Sadler is the founder and chairman of Traditional Medicinals, which happened to be the largest seller of herbal tea. And his focus has always been into doing good. And he said once, I went to one of his corporate gathering retreat, and he said, our capacity to do good is inherently dependent on our ability to turn a profit. And that's really important. And when we look at that greater sense of responsibility towards our business stakeholders, we talk of corporate social responsibility. And when we do that, we need to acknowledge that shared value has a trade-off component. What are we talking about? Short-term goals or long-term benefits? When we talk about the triple bottom line, people, planet, profit. Well, now, we talk people, planet, and prosperity. But in which order? When we talk about social impact, is it about doing less harm or doing better? So let's go into that regenerative thinking for a second. It starts with your purpose, as Jared was mentioning earlier. It's defining your organization's purpose, values, and principles on which you want your organization to be built is arguably the most important process you'll face. They act like a four-dimensional pillars, constantly adapting to new realities. You'll determine the type of organization that is right for you, a nonprofit, corporation, partnership, and the subset of each of these co-legal structures. You'll address your own role in the organization and therefore the type of management structure you feel most comfortable with. You'll assess the fastest versus the most sustainable path to achieve success. And it will define your relationship with your internal and external stakeholders, how you relate to them, and how your decisions affect them. And it's something to consider. When vision, mission, principles, and values meet to bolster culture and transcend impact, this moment in your organization's life represents an ideal convergence. That's the name of my company. And offers the strongest opportunity to fulfill your and your organization's purpose. So a culture that benefits the greater good is what? You know, purpose is only the seed. It requires a flexible mindset. When we look at the world, we tend to look at it in parts. So there is you. Who is you? Well, you serve the first partners. And then inside the company, there are the board, the investors, the employees. And then at the periphery of the company, your suppliers, your vendors, your customers. And outside of it, we see the new world or an unknown world, a dark matter. When you look at the flexible mindset, it tends to be nested inside into the world. You and the first, the employees, investors, the board, the suppliers, the partner, the customers, and more ecosystems. So when regenerative enterprise functions like living system, they are interconnected, they thrive as a whole, they cultivate human potential, they recognize all relationships, protects its integrity, and avoids fixing a problem by creating a new one. And I'm going to show you a little bit more how to do that. But this regenerative culture leads to innovation and growth, very much like an ecosystem, and tends to occur organically when leaders foster and encourage the following: exploration. The greatest obstacle is to stop seeking information beyond what we know. While exploring your ecosystem, I invite you to look at it from a centrism view and as a whole. Anthropocentric versus egocentric. It is a process that allows your mindset to shift from fixed to flexible. People's development. True, people's potential is infinite. It is one organization's greatest and often untapped resources. We are constantly evolving. So is the world around us. Growth is often referred to an organization expanding in size and revenue. Here we look at people's development as a driver of growth. Who knows who will come up with the next big idea. Then you have mindfulness. We can talk also symbiosis, risk-taking and learning, responsible leadership. All this is integrated into a living system. So regeneration is emerging as humanity's transformative response to the converging ecological, economic, and social crises we are all facing. Regeneration is, to put it simply, the replenishing, restoring, and preservation of every ecosystem's integrity, a unit or a whole. To better be able to create and implement regenerative practices and systems, we have to think like an ecosystem, interdependent on other ecosystems. In short, for one ecosystem to thrive, it needs to make sure other ecosystems are thriving as well. That shifts the conversation when we talk about impact and regenerative investing. In itself, regeneration thinking and regenerative systems are as ancient as the first life form, microorganisms, plants, and insects, establishing symbiotic and mutualistic relationship. We structure our mind to think inside a man-made system, independent of and disconnected from the world we inhabit, and dependent on Building regenerative cultures anywhere requires a fundamental shift in the way we view the world and think about our place in it. There's many things you can start looking, as living systems, from policy making. Let's say we jump into something, and I know it's very controversial at the moment, but let's say, for instance, we start talking about renewable energy. Well, what's renewable is the energy itself. What's harnessing the energy is not renewable. When we look at, again, these concepts, we start thinking differently than conventional businesses. To me, it is undeniable that regenerative thinking, development, and systems are loaded with challenges, much bigger than transforming from conventional to green and from green to sustainable, let alone for those organizations still struggling to meet society's minimum social and environmental standards. The change, as radical as it sounds, is actually very human, for it starts within, exploring our own belief systems, thinking patterns, and mindset. Something that we don't think too much, is we are living system, ecosystem working on two legs. As was talking about these chemicals that live inside of us, but there is about 30% more microbial cells than there are human cells in our body, not 90%, right? 30%. When we start being mindful of the harm our human activities are causing to our living systems, we consciously start looking for ways to do less harm, to do better. The best example is when your organization chooses products that do not contain toxic chemicals or are made of 100% recyclables. This process allows for an exploration of our system that may lead to greater awareness of a product life cycle inside an ecosystem. You may also realize that although you believe your organization is sourcing its material responsibly, you may actually know very little about the humans and communities on the other end of your supply chain. And when you do explore that relationship and acknowledge the challenges they face, it may open a realm of co-creativity and co-evolution that are both restorative and regenerative. Think of access to clean water or education for girls. And yet, the greatest impact leaders have today, both in terms of innovation and capacity building, is how they assess their organization's success and the role internal and external relationships plays in achieving it. Carol Sanford, in her latest book, Regenerative Business, takes you on a discovery journey of working systems and the humans who make them, use and inhabit them. Unsurprisingly, she points to many flaws in all systems that have to do with how we relate to one another and to the world around us, mechanical, behavioral, human-centered living system. So if a couple of exercises that you might want to play with is applying living system thinking, designing your own ecosystem. There is no direct or indirect impact. That is rule number one. Look at the food you eat. If we are what we eat, then the ecosystem where it grows affects you as much as you affect it. We are integral part of ecosystem, not separated from them. So, couple of exercises. Humans are nested within living systems. List every human your venture might affect. What do you know about them? Your product life cycle. And if you don't, what you provide as services, think of the computer you use. List every resource that is needed to make it work. Follow its own life cycle. What is the environmental and social cost of each identified resource? So going back to impact investing or regenerative investing, it follows exactly the same trend that any other business does. You know, you're about to launch, you're doing something that no one has ever done before, or you're doing it better than others. It's not because it is complex. Living systems are not that complex. They're quite simple. You've tested it, it works, you're ready to launch. You're showing clarity. We've identified different models. We can easily switch from one to another and pursue a few at the same time as to increase value and impact. You're showing agility. We can maintain our first to market advantage or market leader status, solidity. We're developing, have developed valuable assets. You're becoming attractive. You know, nature is full of attractive little gimmicks, you know, how birds move their wings, how insects make sounds, and so forth. We've identified a weak spot and have a plan to address them, honesty. And that's very, very, very important when comes the moment you start facing your own trials. Maybe right away you need money. Maybe in some years later, 2 or 3, you need money. Think of that in terms of your living system and where the money is. It might be closer to you than you think. I've been really interested with the work of Kevin Lloyd-Jones that really look at community assets, how community can build assets, right? So one of the issues that he was looking at was Muslim people in America living by the Sharia law, which prohibit certain types of the way or even investment, right? So how do we circumvent that? Well, if you ask people to put in a pool of money 10% of what they earn, you start creating, you start a process of asset creation. Your money can be very, 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 very available to you, or your ability to manage money is there in that living systems. Right now, a lot of organization has to show agility when it comes to lesser revenue. How do they do that? That's where we need to show, you know, that we start thinking in terms of regenerative terms. We start paying much more attention to our investors. Investors, it is their money. So what's very often they're looking at is the exit strategy. Is that something that aligns with your own projection of the organization that you've created? Or is it something different? And if it's something different, well, you know, very often you need to do it to make a pass. However, if you start reaching out to your community, that's a different story, because everybody is invested in your own success. Your partners become invested in your own success, your suppliers, your vendors, even the environment. So I close here. Thank you. Oh, what's happening to my video? Here we go.
You're muted, Melanie. Melanie, you're on mute.
Sorry, I didn't want to make noise. Thank you so much, Marc. I know you have to go right now, and I want to make sure everyone has your email. You're part of all of our group emails, and Yeah, any comments real quick? I know you have to go. From anyone else? Pape,
Yeah,
so
I can,
just
I
you
can,
again.
Thanks,
I can
Mark.
have 5 minutes. You're welcome, George.
Good job. Hey, I love
you.
your picture on the tree, the little boy.
Well, that's what changed everything, you know.
Aha,
So
yes, I understand.
that's my focus. That's my focus
Yes.
today. Is
Yeah.
really to. I found such a great level of inspiration from people that are very often called backward and savages, or you
Yeah.
know, which are probably amongst the most knowledgeable and
Agreed.
intelligent people that I've ever seen.
Agreed. Totally.
So much to take in, and we've got all of these presentations to share. So I'm going to be uploading this and sharing it for our group as well as our guest faculty today. Thank you so much, Jared, and I'll be seeing Deanna and extend my gratitude to her. Thank you so much, Mark. That there was so much richness in there. Jay and I are chatting on the side, like loving your slides, particularly like when you mentioned adding, building the capacity of your team, of the stakeholders. It made me think of as we go through the cycle of development, how we can really strengthen, and just like you said, when you have community investors sharing, and the case study of Kevin Doyle Jones of the Somalian refugees in Minnesota, and through their churches. I mean, there's also like women sharing cooperative. Look at the Grameen Bank. I mean, he's really kind of innovated using the strength and the asset of the culture. And so, yeah, the culture is a huge asset. And also when we are invested in our community, like we as a team can invest in ourselves, um, and then the organization tends to grow rather than commodifying that staff and bringing them in, right? So having ownership in the project, and that doesn't necessarily work with a corporate nonprofit all the time. And so I love that we're really looking at like what are the different ways that we're governing and managing, as Dee Dee kicked off as well, is that you're managing your fundraising, you're managing your team. And our next and final stage is really looking at, now we've built something, we've shown that we've gone through this great criteria, Mark, and then we actually need to figure out how we're going to be governing what our how and our what, and our team and our community in a way that represents our values. So we're going to be starting with that next week with Jackie, and I'm really excited for that session on governance and having regenerative systems.
Yeah, and I just want also to mention that the richness of this approach, it really leads you to either or both, actually, not either, both a treasure chest or Pandora boxes, but and Pandora boxes, actually, because you start literally seeing the world differently, and so you're going to be seeing things that are difficult to see. You know, we talk, for instance, about renewable energy, and that's my big thing right now, because it's going to affect indigenous people. It is affecting the indigenous people. So, you know, when we start mining, because that's what we do to build solar panels and wind turbines and anything, it is going to affect nature. It is going to affect ecosystem. So how is it going to affect this ecosystem? What's going to happen? And that is every time that how you entering these realms is really going to make that difference. And Josh can speak of this, because the ocean is probably one of the least thought of when we look at our human behavior. You know, I mean, we're depleting the ocean, we polluting the ocean, the acidity of CO2 emission is affecting coral reefs and so forth. So you start looking at really ecosystems, and you place in the ecosystem, not outside the ecosystem.
Well, your opening question of profit and how much and what comes first, and it's how we're yeah, what is our purpose, right? So back to the soul question.
It's great to go back to the drawing board
Yeah,
with
yeah,
this
we're
summer
all
sleeve.
takes everything, and we can't be in our little isolated. We need to consider the whole for it to be a real solution. So,
Right.
so
Right.
beautiful.
Thank you so very much for the
One more
opportunity.
yeah,
Yes,
which
George.
is, I put it in the chat, but this is, I mean, when the president of the UN took him 3 years to recognize, oh my God, we need to change one word in what we're saying. And that word, for 3 years, we were going sustainable, or sorry, see, I'm already doing solutions. We need best practice solutions, things like that. That was the term that everybody was using. We got to get the solutions. And he said, no, we need to remember not to omit the word sustainable. Changing one unsustainable solution for another unsustainable solution is not a solution. It's just changing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That we must always, kind of like you're saying, get back to the roots. And yes, every company should be thinking cradle to grave of their product. And that movement is coming. You know, so we're getting there. But in us, in our projects and everything, when we're doing all of this, to keep not in the back of your mind, in the front of on the front burner, everything is about a sustainable thing, not to not to pull that word out or just assume that word gets conveyed to everybody. So I just want to say, if it took 3 years for the UN to go, oh my God, we need to not omit this word because we're just out, in essence, kind of just pushing change as opposed to change that's sustainable. So anyway, I just share that.
The right direction, and
yeah.
Thank you for all being leaders of taking that to the level that we need to be for this to work.
Thank you for the opportunity, Melanie.
Merci, Marc. I'm going to let everyone go, and
thank you, everyone.
Go vote.
Have a great day.
Yes.
No matter what happens, you know.
Yes.
Have a good day.
Yes. Thank you all so much. I look forward to seeing you guys next weekend and soon. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, guys.
Jay.
Have a great day.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Lisa. Bye.